is delighted to share information about how this designation can be obtained. We highlight the great work of 3 credit unions in the Northwest. Today we will hear from Pablo De Felipe, Senior Vice President of Membership and Network Engagement with the National Federation of Community Development Credit Unions. Pablo will provide an overview of the history of Juntos Avanzamos, how the program has grown across the United States, and an outline of how the designation is obtained. We will also hear from Alejandra Saluja. She's a consultant with CU Breakthrough who happens to be traveling in Spain right now and is still making time to share information, which is really a testament to her commitment to the work that she does. Alejandra will discuss the market opportunities available in serving the Hispanic market, how doing good work makes good business sense. Next, we will hear from Richard Romero, President and CEO of Seattle Metropolitan Credit Union. Seattle Metro is the most recent credit union in the Northwest to receive the designation. Richard was recently recognized as an honoree for courage in business by the online news journal Crosscut. Richard also serves on the board of directors for the Federation of Community Development Credit Unions. Next, we'll hear from Susie Fonseca, President and CEO of Lower Valley Credit Union. Susie and her team have been honored with a number of awards in recent years, including the Credit Union Times Trailblazer Award for service to the underserved, as well as an Excellence in Lending Award at the 2016 CUNA Lending Council Conference. And last but not least, we'll hear from Amy Nelson, President and CEO of Pointwise Credit Union. Amy and her team have also been honored with several awards in the recent past, including a National Louise Herring Philosophy in Action Award during the 2016 CUNA Governmental Affairs Conference. Amy was also awarded with the prestigious Innovation and Impact Award at the 2016 NWCUA Max Convention and was a finalist for this year's Credit Union Magazine's CU Hero of the Year Award. A few housekeeping items. If you have questions, please type them in the questions field. Notate who the question is directed towards, and I will keep my eye on that. We will answer most questions at the end of the session. This session is being recorded and will be posted to the NWCUA website if you'd like to have other teammates refer to the information in the future. And we will also share a short video from Seattle Metropolitan Credit Union in the post-event message. Thank you so much, and Pablo, I will pass it off to you.
Thank you so much, Carmen. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a great opportunity for us to talk about serving the Latino market. And thank you, Carmen, for the opportunity. The partnership that the Federation has with the Northwest Credit Union Association is really important because the Federation is the leading organization behind the national expansion of this program, but we're doing this in collaboration with partners like the association here. So, Carmen, I don't think that I can move, or can I move it now? Do I have the controls for the presentation?
Pablo, I believe I handed it off to you. Let's give that one more try.
Okay, so sorry everyone. Bear with us. Nope, I can do it.
Is it not working for you? Okay.
No,
well, if you want me to just go ahead and click through, if that works.
Yeah, let's do that. So let's move on to the next one. And I'm going to first give everyone just a quick overview of what the Federation is. We are a trade association. We've been around since 1974. And our mission is to connect credit unions with low-income consumers and financially underserved communities. We are a national trade association, that's why we have the name, and our members are mostly low-income designated and CDFI certified credit unions. The combination of that means that you can become a community development credit union if you have those two designations and you're working with the Federation. We are a small but mighty organization. We have a number of a kind of complex structure. We are a 501c3, which allows us to fundraise and bring resources to our members and credit unions serving low-income market. We're also a CDF5, so we are a financial, a community development financial institution, and we make investments in our members. We are also a trade association representing low-income credit unions and CDF5 certified credit unions. We have around 200 members in 44 states, and we are really happy to have the 3 panelists today to be members of the Federation. All right, let's move on to the next one. So the program we're going to talk about today is Juntos, Avanzamos, and how credit unions can actually respond to this need in the Latino community, but also through that need really find ways to grow and to become relevant in this market. Moving on to the next one. So the Juntos Avanzamos is a network of credit unions. It was started by the Texas Credit Union League around 12 years ago. And for most of that time, the program was available only to Texas. Once the Texas League became the Cornerstone League, they expanded the program to Oklahoma and Arkansas. But that was their footprint, and the program never expanded beyond those 3 states. So at the end of 2015, the Federation agreed with the Cornerstone that we would be the conduit to expand this program beyond these 3 states. And as a result of that, and working with a number of partners in the industry, we've been able to expand the program to now 19 states and DC. So we have, right now we have 71 credit unions that participate in the program, and they serve over 4 million people through more than 600 branches. Moving on, this is a representation of the footprint of the program. If you go to our website, you can actually zoom in and you can see the presence at the branch level in different communities. And as you can see, the program is has a bigger presence or a concentration actually in the Southwest and Texas, of course, but is slowly but surely expanding throughout the country, including Oregon and Washington State. So this is a collaborative approach. As I mentioned before, we're working with a number of partners in the industry. We're working with Coopera, which is a consulting organization out of Iowa. We're working with a network of Latino credit unions and professionals, which is a volunteer-run organization that represents mainly Latino professionals in the industry, but also credit unions that are working or serving the Latino market. As you can see, we have a growing number of leagues and associations supporting the program, and of course, Northwest Credit Association is one of them and one of our strongest and more exciting partners, and a lot of that because of Carmen's passion for the demographics. So thank you, Carmen, for your support and for helping us promote and connect credit unions to the Latino community. Moving on to the next one. Here in the Northwest, we have 3 Juntos Avanzamos designated credit unions, and the 3 of them are panelists today. As you can see, a big part of the Juntos Avanzamos program is to make connections with to make connections with the Latino market. And you do that through these proclamation ceremonies that you can see represented on these photographies here. And you're going to hear from Susie, Richard, and Amy about their efforts to connect with the Latino community. The program, in terms of governance, has two committees. We have an advisory committee, which is made out of representatives from all the partners that are supporting the program. And their function really is to provide leadership and guidance as we build this program at the national level. We also have a selection committee, and that selection committee is really a group of practitioners that have a proven track record in serving the Latino community, and they actually go through the applications that come to us and make the final decision in terms of who's, technically ready to meet the needs of the Latino community. Juntos Avanzamos is a certification process. It's an accreditation program, and basically the idea is to assess the institutional capacity of a credit union to meet the needs of the Latino market. We can share the application with you all, or you can just come to our website to find it. But basically, the application is broken up in different sections that speak about that capacity to meet the needs of this community. There's two important requirements here. One is that the credit union has to have flexible account opening requirements. This is one of the biggest barriers that has been identified as keeping Latinos away from the financial mainstream. And secondly, it has to have a flexible loan underwriting criteria, because the idea again is to engage these communities to help Latino consumers build their credit in the first place and give them access to responsible financial products and services. In terms of the application, there's the application that I just mentioned, and there's a supportive narrative that goes with the application. There's general information that has been completed, and then there's a section around leadership commitment where we ask about the diversity of your board, diversity of the staff, and commitment of those two groups to this market. We also look at products that are relevant to the Latino community, credit builder loans, for instance, remittance products, things that will help establish that connection with the Latino community. And then we look at promotion and marketing. Is there bilingual materials available? What type of signage do you have in place? Do you have key forms translated to Spanish, like membership forms, loan applications? And of course, if you have locations in the right places, and if you have those locations, if you have partnerships that you can use to as channels actually to connect and serve the community. Moving on, so some of the program principles that we promote here is that the products must be affordable. The idea here is to position credit unions as a trusted partner for the Latino community, and if they see that there's an inconsistency on the pricing, that's going to generate some sort of distrust. So we really encourage credit unions to provide products that are affordable. Of course, they have to be sustainable, but we want them to be affordable in the first place. We also want those products to be transparent. It's very important for people to understand the pricing of the product, so they don't feel like they are misled into something that they don't understand how to use. So transparency is a big part of what we advocate for. Products must be simple, easy for the consumer to understand and use. They must be also accessible and convenient. And then these last two things are really important in terms of attitude. We are here trying to make a connection with a community that has been disfranchised and that doesn't really see financial institutions as partners. So we want to treat these people in a way that is respectful. We want to provide dignity in how we deal with this new membership, because that really helps build that relationship with this community. And with the Latino community, something that is really important to recognize is that people talk about their experiences with their families and friends. So one good experience multiplies really rapidly. A bad experience also spreads around really quickly. So you want to be careful in terms of how you treat your Latino members. And also we want these products to provide a pathway to financial inclusion, so products that help people move up in terms of assets and building. You know, you start with a small dollar loan, for instance, something that enables people to build credit, and then they can be graduated into used car loans and other type of loan products as you develop that relationship. In terms of the Juntos Avanzamos program goals, what we want to do is to really make this connection between credit unions and Latinos and immigrants specifically. Part of what we want to do with Juntos Avanzamos is to encourage standardization of customer identification procedures, loan underwriting requirements. So when people go to a credit union that is Juntos Avanzamos certified, they find a similar experience without regards to the market or the credit union that they're going to. The idea here again is that we want to bring some consistency around these experiences. To the extent possible, we also advocate for standardization of products and services, so people can easily navigate those products, again following the framework that we shared with you on the slide before. We're also developing a central depository of best practices. You know, one of the amazing things about the credit union system is that people really are willing to share their experiences, and here you are going to hear from three leaders really in our industry that have tried and have really proven this concept. So we want to make sure that all those best practices are made available to participants of the Juntos Avanzamos program. We're also in the process of formalizing learning networks for the sharing of those best practices. And in the long run, we also want to develop a consistent marketing and outreach strategy that can be pushed across different markets. And that's why the Juntos Avanzamos logo is so important, because we want people to identify that and to recognize that logo as a proof of seal in terms of a financial institution that is fair and that is friendly to the Latino community. And moving on to the next one, part of the framework of the Juntos Avanzamos program is also that is going to be a network, a platform actually, to connect credit unions to social service agencies and to nonprofits that operate and are really embedded in this market. There are many organizations that are doing very effective work in terms of serving the Latino community, and those organizations can really serve as a conduit really for us to connect with the market and to gain that trust. So we're working with Catholic Charities, for instance, with the National Council of La Raza. We're also working with government agencies like the Mexican Consulate and Cities for Citizenship. And moving on to the next one. So why do this? Why does it matter? And the reality is that if you look at the growth of the industry, the growth is really happening at the very large credit unions, with few exceptions. The smaller the institution, the lower the growth. And so on one side, we have an industry that has an unrealized potential in terms of growth, and then we have a market that is totally underserved. So what we advocate here is to make those connections. The Latino market is eager for affordable financial products and services, and the demographic really is much younger than the average member demographic. So here you have a market where people are in their prime age to get loans and to build their assets as they move on in life. So it's a perfect marriage in terms of an industry that has the capacity to serve, and by many ways an industry that came about because of those unmet needs, many years ago, and then a market that is underserved and frankly abused by alternative financial service providers today. And as you will hear from Lower Valley, Seattle Metro, and Pointwise, you see that you actually can do very well by doing good. This is not an either-or question. This is a market that deserves to be served, and by doing so, you can propel your growth and relevance for the future. So with this, I'm going to hand it over to Alejandra, who's going to talk about the market opportunity.
Thank you, Pablo, and good afternoon, everyone. I just want to mention that, well, thanks to technology, I can do this from Spain while visiting, but I will be just at the presentation for to talk about the market, and then I will give some time to the credit unions to talk about their experience, and then Pablo to answer any questions. So we can move to the first slide, where we can see that why are the biggest reasons as an umbrella on why we want to serve the Hispanic market. And Hispanic, Latino, it continues to grow. So it's a large demographic that is growing. It's very young, and it's untapped. One of the things that I want to mention on emphasizing that is young is that we recently conducted a research through the Federation with 7 credit unions throughout the United States that serve immigrant members. And one of the things that we saw is that the demographic is a majority in the age of between 25 and 44. So really prime borrowing age. The next age was 44 to 54. So we will move to the next slide, where we will see some of the demographics. And this is at the national level. So one of the things that I wanted to focus on was on talking a little bit about Oregon and Washington State. We see 50.5 million people, 16.3% of the population, and so forth. But what would that mean for your market? So the Hispanic Latino market in Oregon is 12.7%, and in Washington State is 12.4%. The second thing that we want to look at on why the Hispanic market is the foreign population that you have. And of course, this is a little bit more broad because we have people from other parts of the world, of course, but your foreign population is, again, Oregon 9.9%, and Washington is 13.4%. Another thing we look at is the language that is spoken at home, and we have 15.1% in Oregon and 18.9% in Washington of households that speak a language other than English at home. And the next one that I want to focus on is that we have in Oregon 91,648 people, and in Washington 184,354 people that are eligible for citizenship. What that means is that these are immigrants that are legally in the country. The next demographic that we have within the immigrant population is that we have 121,000 in Oregon and 234,000 in Washington of unauthorized immigrant community members. So if we want to move to the next, that's just to give you an idea of how many people you really could serve by serving the Hispanic market. That being said, we see that the Hispanic population will continue to rise. And these are just, if we just look at the demographics in each area, and I will talk a little bit about that on the next one, is how that is changing. The population that will continue to grow is the Hispanics. And again, you will have this presentation, so I want to go over the graphics, but I think I really want to give time to the three credit unions to present on their experience. So on the next slide, all right, thank you. So these are the some numbers, and this is again what I was talking about, how young our Hispanic market is. One of the issues that we've seen with credit unions, and I will tell you my experience, I started working with Guadalupe Credit Union Santa Fe, New Mexico in 2005, serving immigrant members. And as we continue to grow services to immigrants, we started noticing that the median age started to drop, because we know that credit union, one of the issues that credit unions face is that our population is growing old. So it went from 52 median age to 42. So that's another thing that you will see as you serve the Hispanic market. One thing that I also want to mention here, when I talked about the Hispanic and Latino percentage of the population in your states in particular, so I mentioned that Hispanic Latino were 12.7% in Oregon. A year ago, that was 11.7%. And then in Washington, right now is 12.4%. A year ago was 11.2%. So the growth is 1.2%, but we see that as a trend that continues to grow. On the next slide. Why the Hispanic market? We go back to, we as credit unions were formed to serve in the underserved. We see that the majority of the people that we have are still low income. Nevertheless, we see that the market continues to grow in acquisition power. So as more Latinos become more get a higher income, that means that they will continue to buy more. And when we talk about Hispanic, I want to emphasize that we have, of course, residents, citizens that are Hispanic, and we also have both documented and undocumented members. Going to the next slide. So let's talk about why they are financially underserved and how they are financially underserved. So we have about 50%, one out of every 2 Hispanic households is unbanked or underbanked. We also have that 70% have never had an account. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is, but I want to go over these 3 points. And on the high use of alternative financial services, I also want to add the ones that are not listed here, that are the buying from somebody that they know that has a small dealership, and that has been my experience, or mobile homes. And usually they end up paying much more of what the car is worth, or the car is a salvage vehicle. Mobile homes, the same. It's an old mobile home that has no value. And another experience that I've had is on rent-to-own contracts on land, for instance, or houses that have not had a proper improvement location report, and they end up paying on a property that has either a lien, or it was divided and it was never updated in the county records. So next one. On the next slide. I have a little bit of delay with the next slide. I don't know if it's just me.
Sorry, Alejandra, I'm not sure which slide should we be on now?
We should be on the Hispanic. I think I see it now. One before that one, please. One before.
Okay. Sorry about that. My computer
Okay.
going a little crazy. And then the next one after this?
Yeah, the next one, please. Okay, thank you very much, Carmen. So when we ask why you don't have an account, of course, you know, ID, credit, or banking history problems are main obstacles. Now, the ID issue is because not many financial institutions accept alternative forms of ID, such as a matricula consular, or a voter's ID, or even a passport. So people believe that they cannot really open an account at a mainstream financial institution. Credit, there are 2 main reasons. One is that in general, we Latinos are afraid of credit, and we don't want to owe money to anyone. So usually by the time we realize that we could have bought a house 10 years ago, because we could have been building credit instead of paying cash, people save up to make major purchases, and that takes, of course, longer, and it puts a lot of pressure in the family budget. Banking history problems are in general because people do not understand when they open an account the fees and regulations. You know, some people cited, oh, I just opened an account to save that money, and I just left it there, and they weren't aware that, you know, if you have the inactivity fees, basically. The other reason is that many banking systems in Latin American countries have failed. So that's the experience that we have, and believe that here it will be the same problem. So the bank could keep the money. That's pretty much how I would put it. This is part of the second point, was what I was talking about, not understanding really why when you open an account, what the requirements are or how it works. On the next one. I know that you saw before we had 50.5 million, and this number, I apologize, wasn't updated, but it is actually 50.5 million that we have now. But I think this is a good way of looking at how the demographic continues to change on the immigrant population. So that's 1 out of 8 residents that are the U.S. Immigrant population. And it is indeed a high percentage, the highest in almost 100 years. 2.25 million are how many immigrants settle down in the U.S. every year. Nevertheless, we have a net of 0% of immigrants in the States. But we do have people coming in and leaving. And again, 11.3 million are the number of unauthorized immigrants. Of course, I already went over how many are in your particular state, but that is the total that we have, and these are all census numbers. Now, the next number is something that we were looking at, because we say, why 8.5 million in the country that could become citizens have not yet applied? And there are a few reasons. One of them is the fee. That is right now $685. The fee itself may not be high, but when you talk about low-income families, and when you talk about adding lawyer fees, that really can add up. Or if you have 2 people in a household, or 4. On to the next one. So this is a really great opportunity for financial institutions, mainstream financial institutions, I want to say, because this is when we credit unions can come in and say, we can help you. You can open an account with us. On the next one, where it talks about mixed status, that is actually 1/3 of all households are of mixed status. So that will be a family that either has a citizen and a resident and an undocumented, or any combination. So when your financial institution opens the door to one of them, they will all be likely to bank with you. The next one is that regulated financial institutions can serve foreign nationals. As I say, that's my experience. You will hear from the other credit unions that this is not an issue. It's something that is mentioned several times to us, but that is, we can do it. But by law, we can. The customer identification program does provide that we can accept non-U.S. government forms of ID for account opening. In lieu of a social security number, we could accept the individual taxpayer identification number, and that is when you do not qualify for a social security number, you can apply for an ITIN, and with that you pay your taxes, so we can prove your income, and we can also, for interest-bearing accounts and loans being referred to credit bureaus, we need that number. And the next one is credit unions could be the source to helping people achieve their universal or the American dream, owning a home and so forth. On the next one.
Great, Alejandra, that was the last slide I had for your section. Was there anything you wanted to add as a closing thought?
One more thing that I will be very brief with this, but I want to mention that the entrepreneurs, the fastest growing entrepreneurs in the country are the Latino market. From 2000 to 2012, that has quadrupled. So that is another reason to serve our Latino population. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and Pablo will stand for questions. So thank you, Carmen, and thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Alejandra. And we did get one question, which is if we will share the PowerPoint, and we can absolutely do that so that everyone can have all that great data that Pablo and Alejandra put together. So now I'd love to pass off to our 3 credit union panelists, and Richard from Seattle Metropolitan Credit Union, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I don't want to spend any time going over the program, obviously. I think Pablo did a great job. And then the market opportunities, Alejandra we actually used a lot of the information that Pablo and Alejandra presented to decide to go in that direction, but I'll give you some background as to why we did it and the successes and challenges that we've had. We've been around for 84 years here in downtown Seattle, and at the time we were probably about a $600 million credit union. Right now we're just under 800 million. We decided that we needed to go back to our roots and start serving the underserved and the underbanked in Seattle. And part of it was because of our mission, and the other part of it was really strategic. If you know anything about the city of Seattle, we have a ton of financial institutions here, and even credit unions by size were actually small compared to the other ones in our market. So we decided to go back to the basics and start looking at ways that we can help people in the community who are largely financially ignored or underserved or even financially abused. And what I mean by that is people that go to payday lenders, check cashers, used car lots, etc. And being a Latino myself, I decided the best place to start looking was in the Latino community. And I quickly found out, not being a Seattle native and being new to Seattle, that these communities are generally kind of hard to penetrate. They're pretty closed off to the outside, quote unquote, outside world. And I learned that a lot of it was because of a lot of broken promises and a lot of financial institutions coming in and promising the world to organizations or communities in exchange for access to members, and then quickly realizing that it takes a lot of work to serve underserved people and quickly abandoning them. And so in talking with Pablo and working with the Federation and hearing about Juntos Avanzamos, I thought it would be a great way to do two things. One, it would be a great way to prepare our credit union to be able to serve the underserved market, especially the Latino market, and making sure that we have the right resources, products, language skills, all the different things that you need to serve a market. And on the other side, I felt that it would give us some legitimacy when we worked with community leaders or organizations by being able to say that we have been certified in being able or specializing in the Latino community. So in a sense, the Juntos Avanzamos designation was a strategy to be able to serve the underserved here in Seattle. We combined it, and the picture that's on the slide there was at the grand opening of a branch that's actually in a low-income housing unit. We were given the opportunity to open a branch there, and we combined that grand opening with the designation of Juntos Avanzamos to make sure the community was aware of what was going on and also to help us kickstart that branch. And as Alejandra said, one of the biggest things that we've seen come into the branch are entrepreneurs, and they're very small entrepreneurs, but we also get a lot of support from the community and larger. For instance, the organization that built the low-income housing opened a $250,000 CD with us when we opened our branch there in order to support us. I think the biggest thing I can say is the preparation of the credit union was the most important thing in going into the market. Many years ago when I first started in credit unions, the CEO I worked for decided to go into a Latino market and opened a cashless branch and basically translated their marketing posters into Spanish, and it failed miserably because there was no connection to the community and there was no understanding of what the community needed. And so this time around, I decided that we needed to make sure that we built an infrastructure. So we built a temporary Spanish website, and we're working on a full conversion of our website into Spanish. We have Spanish call agents, loan officers, the staff at the branch that we opened in the Latino community is all Spanish speaking. And just in general, we now speak over 20 languages at the credit union. So one of our main directives is to make sure we consider bilingual applicants when we open any position at the credit union. So that's kind of a brief overview. I'd be happy to take any questions as they pop up. Or we also did include a short video that we play at our branches to advertise the Juntos Avanzamos designation, which I believe there'll be a link at the end of the presentation that you can click on. It's out on YouTube. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Richard. I will, as I mentioned, I will include that link in the follow-up message. And if there are any questions that come up, I will definitely direct those to the panelists. I'll also add your contact information to these slides before I send them out.
Thanks.
So moving on, Susie from Lower Valley Credit Union in Sunnyside, Washington. I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. Let me see. My name is Susie, and I'm the president, of course, and CEO of Lower Valley Credit Union here in Sunnyside. We actually, Carmen, if you can switch to the next slide, that would be great. I wanted to do just a quick snapshot to give you an idea of who Lower Valley is, and that'll kind of set the stage for what it is I'm going to go over. But we were established in 1958. We're $112 million in assets. We're actually located on the eastern side of Washington State, which is interesting in itself. It's very rural. It's very Republican, and I say that because it does play into the uniqueness of our membership mix, and I'll go into a little bit of that later. But we are agriculturally based. There's a high concentration of farm labor. Many of the families that come here, they migrate here, of course, with the seasons, and they often choose to stay here and raise their family, of course, in hopes to improve their economic condition. And that's, in fact, how I became a Washingtonian myself. We have 86% of our population is Latino, and in our case, it's predominantly from Mexico. Roughly a quarter of that, of those individuals are undocumented, and these statistics actually mirror our membership almost exactly. So our membership is in fact about 84% Latino, and the same equal number of undocumented. So of course, as everyone has mentioned, the distress that undocumented individuals have with formal institutions, we deal with that quite a bit. As far as staffing goes, we do have a staff of about 67, and 90% of us are bilingual. In fact, a number of our staff have either become citizens themselves or first or second generation. In fact, one of the husbands of one of our branch managers was the first individual to go through our citizenship program, so we're pretty proud of that. I did put in here just to kind of set the stage. The yield on our average loans is 8.5%, and then our ROA is above 60 basis points, and that's been about 5-year average. So if we can switch over to the next slide. And I wanted to point out the different certifications and designations that we have, and of course, Juntos Avanzamos being one of them, the different awards and grants that we just received in 2006. And the main reason I wanted to point this out, again, is because I wanted to make sure that everyone knows, and I know that everyone's pointed this out, is that credit unions can certainly remain relevant and be successful while doing good and serving this demographic, because it doesn't only have, it has a tremendous buying power, but, the need for financial services is out there, as everyone's mentioned, and of course it's predicted to grow in numbers, as Alejandra went over in her slides. But this, in fact, is this is our corporate branch staff. If we can switch over to the next slide, Carmen, that would be great. We did receive our Juntos Avanzamos designation about a year ago, not this January, but a year ago from this January. And it was great. Anytime anyone gives us the opportunity to showcase our community and our membership, we do so. Of course, we tend to go all out. We had some dancing and music, and of course we had food. Anytime we can eat, we will. But everyone kind of weathered the storm with us. It was about, I don't know, about 32 degrees out at the time, but it was great. The proclamation is definitely an important part of the Juntos Avanzamos designation. If we can go ahead and switch to the next slide. I wanted to go over just briefly, I know we're getting short on some time here, but programs and offerings that have had an impact on our community. The biggest one, of course, is Citizenship Loan Program, and we actually partner with One America on that program, and we do workshops and participate in those throughout Eastern Washington, and we have a great turnout. Oftentimes there's a waiting list for the next event, so that's always fantastic. We just did a micro business loan program. It's a brand new offering. We're just starting to enroll it, so we're really excited to see the outcome of that. One of the biggest things that we do is ITIN lending. We've been doing ITIN lending for about I don't know, 35 years or so. But our real estate ITIN lending program really took off just this last year. In the past, we've done real estate ITIN, but we've always required Social Security, someone with a Social Security number to also be on the loan. This last year, we did away with that requirement, and we just enhanced the need to have their residence a little bit longer here in the area. So we actually booked about $13 million in real estate. For us, that's fairly large, but $13 million in real estate loans this last year. We only hold them for 12 years, so it's not a huge risk for us, but we did tap out our budget for that particular pool. And we talked about the demand, and that's definitely one area. Housing is huge. The buying power, these individuals, they definitely have the money. They'll pull their money together. Families will get their money together and make sure they purchase a house. But there's never any financial institutions to be able to lend to them. So the demand is out there for sure. The next program that we have is Supplemental Insurance Program. Oh, perfect, thank you. And that one, we were actually one of the first credit unions to be able to provide this. As you know, our membership is very unique in that we do have some individuals with ITINs, so they don't have Social Security numbers, so they don't typically qualify for the normal health insurance programs that are out there. So when they become injured on the job, they're just out. Of course, that's detrimental to their families. The breadwinner is no longer working, what happens with the bills, that kind of thing. So being able to have a program to offer them has been huge. We've been averaging about 12 of these a month, which is pretty big. They're definitely grateful, and they're so affordable. They're about $16.50 for an individual and about $30 for the entire family. So you can imagine, their relief when they're able to actually have some kind of security if they were to become injured. We also have interactive teller machines. We've partnered with one of the largest fruit growers here in the area, and they actually have a area up over in Prescott. It's very rural, and they have their own housing development. They have their grocery store for their employees. They have a church, a school, this kind of thing, but they don't have financial services. And so what we did is we actually used we leveraged our Juntos Avanzamos designation, and we were able to secure a grant of about $100,000 and purchased an ITM so that these individuals now have face-to-face access to our staff. So they're able to talk about loans, about transactions, anything that they need. They can just pick up the phone and actually see our teller on the other side. So that was really groundbreaking for that area. And for us, it was our first at it. And of course, dual language financial workshops, we have those, and those are definitely important and a great way to reach the market and educate the demographic. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. This I just put just the header there, but community leader versus preconception. Because we're on the eastern side of Washington, we have a lot of roadblocks. One of them being that we have our core depositors, which happen to not be the Hispanic population, and then we have our borrowers, which happen to be predominantly Hispanic. So how do we handle that kind of back and forth? We receive comments such as, oh, this is a Mexican credit union, you can't help me, or people will come up to the teller line and say, I speak English, do you? We get a lot of those comments, and really it's just, we just take it in stride. The way that we see it is so long as we know what our mission is, we know that we're impacting lives, we know that we're living out, the true credit union philosophy of people helping people, we're just going to continue. And so that's what we've been doing, and we've been doing very well at it. Everything from and it truly starts at the board level and through executive management and, all the way down to our MSRs, is believing in the mission and the purpose of what it is that we do. Let me see. So I guess my overall, comment here is that credit unions can definitely and certainly remain relevant and be successful and while doing good in serving this demographic, because we've been living proof, for the past almost 60 years. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Susie, for all that you do for your community and for sharing with us today. Amy, I know we're running a little bit close to time, but we'll have you share and feel free to just go straight to the end of the webinar. I haven't had any questions come in, so we'll see if we have time, but if not, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Carmen. And I'm watching the clock, so I will try and keep it on time here. So yes, Amy Nelson here at Pointwise Credit Union in Portland, Oregon, and we serve the Portland metro area in 4 counties. And what we learned, similar to what Richard discussed regarding Seattle Metro, is that we essentially are a big small town with lots of larger community financial institutions, and how are we going to be carving our own niche to really remain competitive and relevant in an already tight and competitive market. Point West had merged in the NAACP Credit Union in 1991, and then also Hacienda Credit Union in 2004-2005. So through those merge opportunities, we already had a diverse membership base and about 12% of our staff who were bilingual, bicultural, to serve those members in a relevant and meaningful way. It took us some time, though, to really get rolling. The recession kind of held those things back. And once we repaired the credit union post-recession, we took a look back at our history and realized that really our greatest success stories, our most meaningful opportunities to serve the community, and our greatest loyalty came from our members who were in underserved, unbanked markets, such as our immigrant community members, those who had an ITIN for their identification, who were micro business owners, and who continued to use those products and services through the recession to build their own net worth within their personal, family, and business lifestyles. So we took that opportunity and ran with it, and then in August of 2016 received our Juntos Avanzamos designation. And really what I wanted to focus on for the next 2 minutes is the designation itself. Carmen, if you can flip to the next slide, really is the starting point for your journey going forward. I highlighted some key words here that are listed on the Juntos Avanzamos application, which really says this is a long-term commitment. It's the starting point. You earn those 42 points to get the designation, but really that is the base from which you're going to leverage forward this momentum that you've already started to get to that point when you first applied. Point West really focused on marketing our values, growing our partnerships, and evolving communication channels to build that momentum post Juntos Avanzamos celebration in August, and that's what these next slides are about. Just a couple of months after the celebration of our designation, the election results were posted, and that certainly has been a dynamic time in our recent history as a country, and something that really spoke to our members and our staff and our local community that we needed to address. And the Juntos Avanzamos application process, the designation, and the way in which we're rolling forward with our initiatives to our membership base set the stage for us to put forth a value statement to our members and our local community in November. And what you see on the screen there is our declaration of beliefs. So when Susie talked about having your credit union mission that you're sharing forward with your membership and those who come visit the branch and may have questions, we took it a step further and said, here's the value set and the value base that Point West lives by. And so we took those underpinnings and put them on our website, on business cards, as place card holders that our staff would hand out, so that they could really take that as a point of pride and ownership in how and who we serve at Point West. If you could go to the next slide. So that messaging, serving our immigrant community is really a point of pride for Point West, and we also realized quickly that community partners recognized that the credit union had put forth that effort and in a durable way would be a good partner to membership hubs that they were also serving. So you'll see on the screen Hacienda CDC, that's in the lower right-hand corner. They're wearing all of our Point West sunglasses. In the lower left-hand corner is a signing ceremony we did with the Mexican Consulate of Portland. Upper left-hand corner, we have some of our business leaders from local government as well in that picture. So it really took a combination of local government, community partnerships, and industry leaders to help build out this durable and strategic through line of your strategic business plan to elevate the Juntos Avanzamos designation. And we, through those partnerships, could really expand what we're able to do in terms of financial literacy and offering products and services with different hubs within our community. And I am at 2:30. So the next website slide here just shows that we had evolved our website, so we couldn't afford to make the website change right away, so we started in pieces. So that first slide with Francie, we were able to get some just general translation services paid for with a local grant. And then the next slide, evolving our website, we were able to use a $15,000 grant through OSCEWE, NCUA's OSCEWE division, and overhaul our website so that we could add a Spanish site that mirrors our English-speaking site as well. So it takes time, but you can utilize your designation to capture those grant resources. And I think that was the last one, or is there one more? Engage your team. So this slide really talks about or demonstrates how it's also engaging your team from a team training perspective. We do all staff training days, and we'll visit marginalized areas of our community. We offer bilingual training for those who want to learn a new language or brush up on their financial literacy skills in a particular language. Whatever we can do to make our staff more capable, comfortable, confident, and empowered to help our members. It's really about engaging your team at every level and finding out what they want to learn so that you can help them help the member. Gosh, there's so much more to share, but I know I'm over by 2 minutes. So Carmen, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. It's such a pleasure to hear from you and Susie and Richard, and I know we could probably have a several-hour deep dive into the great work that you all are engaged in. I haven't actually seen any questions come in, so considering that we are over time, I will go ahead and be sure that all of your contact information is shared in the slides that we send out to participants. And of course, my contact information is on the slides. If you have any questions at all, you can start with me and I can get you to the right person. Really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you, Pablo, Alejandra, Richard, Susie, and Amy for your leadership and for sharing today. And have a nice afternoon.
Well, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.